if I'm not mistaken, the majority of podcasts end up calling it quits after 7 episodes. Why do I think that is? First off, people start their podcast and I guess their check gets lost in the mail so they don't become millionaires. Because that's what a lot of people expect. They say, I'm going to start a podcast and I am going to get rich. Doesn't happen. Very rare to make any kind of significant money off of podcasting. Secondly, their audience also seems to get lost in the mail. Because when you start a podcast, you're supposed to get 1 million listeners from day one. Or at least 20, 30,000 per episode starting day one. But when they start to get 5 downloads per episode, they think, well, this isn't worth it. Where's my audience? They didn't show up. And third, they realize, wow, this is a lot of work. If my goal is to make a listenable, good product in terms of content and quality of audio, I can't just sit down with my buddies, drink a bunch of beers with a Blue Yeti on omnidirectional mode in the middle of an untreated space, and people won't listen to that? Why won't people listen to that? It's not as though the content is non-existent and the audio is unlistenable, painful to listen to, and Oh wait, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what the issue is. I don't know why I'm being so condescending, but I think that's why the majority of podcasters give up after about 7 episodes. They realize it is a lot of work to grow an audience. There's no automatic audience built into podcasting. There's very little money in it, especially if you can't grow your audience, because the majority of podcasts who earn a boatload of money, they do it through host-read ads. They get high CPM host-read ads because they have a large audience, so if you can't get the audience, you can't get the money, and it takes a lot of time. So when you're spending a ton of time to make a podcast that no one listens to, meaning you earn no money, a lot of people call it quits early. So I came up with 4 pieces of advice, or 4 things that I think are interesting that I have learned over 300 or more like 400 episodes of podcasting between all the podcasts that I have done. And hopefully this helps you if you are starting out, or if you are in the midst of podcasting. Hopefully this is something that you can learn from, because these are things that I learned and I wish I knew from day one. The first piece of advice is probably the most important, and this is what I've been telling anybody getting into content creation for years at this point. Do what you like. Do what you like and do what you're passionate about. Do not start podcasting just because you want to start a podcast. If you are starting a podcast, it should be because you have this burning need to talk about topic X, Y, or Z. Do not say, I want to start podcasting just because I want to podcast. So what topics are popular? Let's go ahead and chase trends. No, that's a recipe for giving up at episode 7, because you won't earn any money, you will have very low listenership, and it will take you a boatload of time. So because of that, you will say, I don't even like talking about this. Why the hell am I going to spend 12 hours a week doing this? I could be doing something that I actually enjoy. So that is the first piece of advice. Do what you like. Talk about what you're passionate about, because when you are getting 5 listeners, it's the only thing that's going to keep you going. For the first couple of years, I was getting 15 downloads, 30 downloads, nothing that would justify spending 12 hours a week on a show. But because I was passionate about it, I was able to push through the time where I was only getting 15 downloads a week. I was okay spending the time because I was having fun with it, even if nobody else was listening. And still, a lot of podcasters would look at what kind of downloads I'm getting and say, wow, you were wasting your time, bud. I don't care. I still enjoy the majority of what I'm doing. The second piece of advice that I have is there's always something better to do. Now, what do I mean by that? Because that sounds like me suggesting that you go do anything else other than podcasting. This is just something that I came to the realization of over the last 6 years. There's always going to be something trying to draw your attention away from podcasting, whether it be a new TV show, or whether it be a new movie that you want to watch, or whether it be hanging out with your friends, or just sleeping in. There is always going to be something better for you to do instead of podcasting as a hobby. So the reason I'm bringing this up is you need to develop the drive, develop the ability to push yourself to start podcasting on that day, even if you don't initially want to. Because there are many days, most Sundays, that I don't want to start podcasting. I wake up, I go for a walk, and then I say, I don't want to sit down in front of a computer and spend 8 hours doing an outline, recording, editing, publishing, blog. I don't want to do it. But I push myself to. I get a cup of coffee, I sit down at my desk and say, okay, what's going on? What are we going to talk about? And then once I hit record, I start having a blast. And then it's fun. Then when I stop recording, I think, oh, heck, now I have to edit. Oh, heck, this is going to take forever. I don't want to edit. So you need to have that ability. If you don't have it, you need to develop that ability to push yourself, even if you don't want to. That's the thing. You may think that's crazy. It's a hobby. It's supposed to be fun, and it is fun. But just because the hobby as a whole is fun doesn't mean that every single aspect of every single recording is going to be fun. It doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it 100% of the time. I can tell you with 100% certainty that people who golf don't enjoy it 100% of the time. People who video game or just game, they don't enjoy it 100% of the time. Talk to a gamer who has a terrible day gaming and they just get killed a bunch by a bunch of 12-year-olds who play video games 24 hours a day. I bet they think that was terrible. I hated every second of it and I hate video gaming. So you need to develop that drive and ability. Third, this is something that I wish I knew early on. It does not have to be perfect. And that is something that I have learned to deal with because now my podcast is perfect and I never have to edit anything ever. It's just a perfect, flawless podcast without any cuts, without any edits, without anything happening ever. But really, this is something that I had to come to terms with. Around 2017, 2018, I went down this weird rabbit hole of trying to, maybe not rabbit hole, but I was trying to make a perfect podcast where I would start recording and then end recording and not have to edit at all. And there was one weekend I was trying so hard that I ended up starting the podcast over about 40 times. Now, not only is that a stupid waste of time, but also it was stupid because it made me begin to hate podcasting. I absolutely hated it. Because I had this idea, I have to be perfect. It has to be flawless. I can't edit. It has to be a one take and it has to go out like this as live. It needs to be perfect. No, it doesn't. Edit your podcast. It's okay if you flub words. I've probably edited this about 15 times already because I am terrible. After 6 years, I still screw up all the time. But even if you are amazing, it's okay to edit because what you're doing with your edits is trying to make the best quality product for whoever is listening. You may say too many times. You may want to edit some of them out. You may pause for 15 seconds to think, And you can edit that out. You can edit that time down to make it a more enjoyable listening experience. So the entire point, the entire realization that I came to by starting a podcast over 40 times was, wait a second. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can edit your show. That's acceptable. That is okay. You can edit. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the fourth piece of advice is it's okay to take some time off. It is okay to have the desire to be lazy and miss a week or two. That's something that I struggled with because I was thinking, so there's somebody's going to need to listen to the podcast. I can't miss a week. No. But I was burnt out. I needed a week off, so I took the week off. And you know what that did for me? Gave me the motivation the next week to actually do the podcast. And if there are weeks where you are just burnt to a crisp, just tired, whooped, you don't want to do anything, it's okay to take a week off and recharge and just chill out, because that will give you the motivation to keep making. And if anybody complains to you saying, where's the episode? Just say, hey, I'll be back next week. And if you got a problem with it, I have an entire backlog you can listen to. And by taking this week off, I'm just ensuring that I will have the motivation to keep making these for years into the future and screaming at you into a microphone. That's what I've learned over 300 episodes over 6 years. You'd think it would be more impactful, some kind of mind-blowing thing that I've discovered. No, it's all pretty basic stuff. But that's something that I found out about myself. I can't just read a piece of advice and learn it. I need to experience it and learn it. I need to actually go through hardship to understand why certain things are the way they are. And that's my advice for you. I hope that helps you. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm just sharing my journey through podcasting and my journey through all of this.